man, Mitch, thank you so much for joining me today and taking the time out of your schedule to come in, share your story, your message, and all that you're up to out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited, man. I met you a couple years back, and I've seen you kind of just continue to grow and in a space that I'm not really too familiar about. So
yeah, we met. It was Lululemon. What was the
Founders Club?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good experience. We need to bring that back, honestly.
Yeah, I wish I had been able to come to more of the stuff because it was fun. I came to like one event, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think we only had two, so
a lot of cool dudes.
Yeah,
so
yeah, we'll definitely. We'll see if we can bring that back, or at least something like that. But for all the people who don't know who you are, give us a little background on yourself and tell us what you're up to.
Sure. So Mitch Purgason, I'm a clothing designer, and I emphasize that. I think a lot of guys, you can be either suit salesmen or suit guys or girls can do the same thing. And I think it's a little different when you kind of have more of a design background and incorporate certain elements in something that you're creating that maybe a standard operation or manufacturer can't. So I take great pride in that. So clothing designer, and then kind of as a side hustle, I guess, a social media consultant, and more or less just someone that likes to create opportunities or tries to create opportunities, and as long as people are involved, I'm having fun.
I love that. So where are you from? Did you grow up in Charlotte, or?
So I actually grew up in Greensboro. Went to Wesleyan Christian Academy in High Point and played basketball there and a couple other sports, and huge sports guy growing up. Loved camaraderie, loved mainly competition. I grew up playing every sport against my brother, and he used to beat the crap out of me, and so that kind of, I think, ignited that flame. But grew up in Greensboro, spent a ton of time in Charleston when I was little, and then eventually went to Appalachian State, played basketball there, and everything kind of came together there, and I guess we'll talk about that a little bit, but mainly Greensboro. So.
Yeah, I love that. You were what I found 5-sport athlete in high school.
Yeah. So I played tennis, track, soccer, basketball, and then I played lacrosse until 8th grade, and I probably would have played football, and I think that would have been my best sport, but my high school unfortunately did not have a football team.
Wow.
Yeah, we were huge on soccer, and that was fun. We were really good, and then basketball we were really talented, but we didn't do as good as I hoped, but it was still nonetheless, awesome memories, and I love competition.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know a football team. That's like the big.
Yeah.
If you have one sport, it's like.
I think it's kind of a private school thing. Not a ton of private schools in North Carolina have them. In Greensboro, actually, I shouldn't say North Carolina because a ton happen here, but Greensboro, High Point's not really a thing.
Yeah.
So.
But you got all the other ones. Sounds like you marked all of them off the list. That's pretty impressive.
Amen.
And then, so you went to App State. How was your experience there? Like, what were you involved in, and how was basketball and everything like that?
Yeah, so basketball was amazing. I'll talk about that last. But first thing I did there was I stayed in an all-guys dorm, which was great. It was called Level. They changed it now, but it was like a mini fraternity coming into college, which was awesome. We had a lot of goofballs, and so that was fun. And from that, like 6 or 7 of us, part of some other guys around campus, we started our own fraternity.
Wow.
And I should say we rechartered a fraternity. We didn't start it, but we brought Sigma Nu back on campus to App State, which was a blast. And all my best friends from college are from Sigma Nu or from Greek life. So App has a different kind of Greek life. I wouldn't say it's like any SEC school or ACC school, but it was a good group of guys to hang out with, and it was a lot of fun. And at the same time, when we had positions in the fraternity, it taught us this or taught us that. So I did that for a while, and then I did SGA for a little bit, hip hop dance crew for a little bit.
Oh,
Nice. I actually took 2 semesters of ballet, which was pretty fun.
I bet.
And then ended up taking a chance on basketball going into my junior year. I guess you could say it's my junior year. I spent next year. I did a victory lap, so whatever that
Naturally,
is.
yeah.
But that was a blast. And then my most, I'd say, pivotal class I ended up stopped playing basketball because I tore my hamstring, and I took a design class, and that kind of launched where I'm at now. So.
Wow. So you started your own fraternity. What did that look like? Because you said you had to like find your own positions and everything. Mm-hmm. So how did you guys navigate that? And like how many people were total in your fraternity like by the time you finished up?
Yeah. So I think everything kind of that started the mindset of if I didn't like what was in front of me to create something that was better, mm-hmm. or at least try to. And so that was the first real chance that I had to do something like that. Basically, we just didn't like the other fraternities on campus as much to join them. There was definitely friends I had in the other fraternities, mm-hmm. but the way they were structured, like, hey, we think we can make this really cool, and there's no knock against the other ones. It was more or less just like, hey, we can literally create something that's our own, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. So it was really just a group of guys that we played a bunch of sports with, that we'd become friends with, that we thought were good dudes, and that ended up having a conversation. One of their dads, my buddy Tyler, was a Sigma Nu, and he told us what it meant to him. So we were like, that would be cool if we did that. And so they ended up bringing someone in from the national headquarters, and they teach you pretty much everything. But it's a long process, and we're actually the fastest. First, you start off as a colony, and then you become official after you get certain milestones, I guess is the right way to say it. And we were actually the fastest to become a chapter in the history of Sigma Nu, which is pretty cool because it's been around for over 100 years. So.
Yeah. And how long did that take to officially get the chapter?
Less than a year, about 10 months, wow. Which usually it takes about 2 years. So we were rolling and we were having fun, and I think it's a cool distinction in the fraternity world. It doesn't really mean as much now, but it was cool, and a lot of cool relationships from that.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I mean, and then just creating something for your own, like you said, was just something that you had to kind of think for yourself instead of joining something that's already been established. Yeah. You kind of create your own and make it however you want it.
Yep. Kind of a Lulu mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. So just get creative with it.
It was cool.
I love that. And then what inspired you to go for basketball your junior year and not earlier?
So I actually got a pretty bad concussion my senior year of high school, and I was planning on playing in college, and I sat out pretty much the most important games of the season. I took a charge, hit my head, had a seizure, and then I ended up sitting out for 10 games, and it was the most pivotal 10-game stretch of the season, of course. Yeah. And so I had a couple looks and offers from D3 and D2 schools, and preferred walk-ons at D1, and Jason Capel, who is my head coach at App, was actually really good friends with my high school coach, and I met him my sophomore year at Wesleyan because he was recruiting some of my other teammates. And so basically one day I'd been playing a ton of pickup, and I felt good again in terms of how much I was playing, and I was in good shape. And so I just went to him and I said, hey, I remember you from recruiting. It was my teammate, his name was Leek. He was a guy from Sudan. And I said, I remember you recruiting Leek. Would love to play an open gym with you guys. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of test the waters. It wasn't really a decision then to I want to play basketball. But I ended up getting paired with a future recruit, a kid that played at another school, and 2 bench players. And we beat the starters 3 consecutive games in a row.
Wow.
And so what started out as, let me see if I can hold my own against these guys, turned out to be pretty good. And then the assistant coach came up to me after the open gym and just said, hey, we'd like to have you on the team. What's your GPA? And everything checked out, and it was history from there.
Oh, so, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, I didn't score a ton or anything, but I crossed some guys up and, made some good passes and ran the offense really well. And it was funny. We should not have won. And we won 3 in a row, so that was pretty cool.
You brought the energy, because I read your bio, and it was what he lacks in size, he brings with energy, with spunk.
Yep.
Is what I read, and I was like, dang, that's some good stuff right there.
Yeah, I know, it was funny, and I would say I was the Rudy of the team. When I got in, not that I was horrible, but when people would freak out and they wanted me to score so bad when I got in the game, and I would always butt heads with players during practice because I was trying to make them better just by either being over aggressive to prepare him for the game, or that was kind of my main thing was let me bring the energy. So
yeah. And so what other opportunities were opened up in college? Like I heard did you do an internship? You had a big internship, I heard?
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. My sophomore year, I was studying for exams, and it was the end of the year, and I just randomly saw an episode of Shark Tank, going on in the library, and I was like, oh God, that'd be really cool to meet Mark Cuban and to potentially work on Shark Tank, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So I sent him this email, and it was pretty funny. I think in my mind, I said, I can't say, here's a business plan, or here's a business idea, or give me an internship. So I wanted my subject line and message to be a little bit different. So my subject line verbatim was, "You are a stud." And
I love that.
Yeah, so I thought that he would probably open that more than just business plan, because I'm sure he gets thousands of those a day. And so basically told him he was a stud, and the email laid out how he was basically being fined by the SEC, and he took $1 million to pay lawyers to avoid paying a $100,000 fine. And so, basically he spent more than he would have been fined for just to prove he was right, and I love that. And so I sent him that message, and I said, hey, if you ever do this and that, I'd love to help out. And so he responded back 3 days later, and I'm in the library again, and I get an email notification on my phone, and I look left, look right, and I'm like, this is a joke, Mark Cuban's not responding to me. And so he responded, and I immediately responded. I said, well, if this is really Mark, thanks for the response. And then I sent it, and I sat there for a second. I was like, what am I doing? I have his attention now. So I sent another one. I was like, tell me books to read. What should I listen to? What should I do? And he gave me advice. And so then he told me about his app called Cyberdust. And he said, and by the way, I have a new app. Would love to know what college kids think about it at App State. And so, I then kept in touch with him. I was like, I'm showing people, as we speak, what's going on with it. And then 3 days later, I hit him up again, and I said, hey, I like this app. I'd love to have an internship. He said, okay, let's see how many people you get on the app, and, that'll be your test.
Yeah.
So I spent the next 3 weeks, everybody, Cyberdust this, Cyberdust that, set up a table in the student union to tell people about it, tried to get it, to be hey, if you want to come to our party, you got to download Cyberdust.
Yeah.
And so I actually got a lot of people on the app, and it's geotagged, app downloads and locations and stuff. So then he emailed me, and he said, consider yourself an intern, keep hustling, and this will play out well for you. So basically that just launched. I got 10 other schools to get on it, and be ambassadors of a sense and tell people about it, and I just shamelessly promoted it. And the funniest thing was, so many people still didn't believe it was Mark. They thought it was his assistant, which I kind of believed too. Oh, we got this college kid's attention. Let's continue it, so he continues to get people on the app. Yeah. And then I kind of felt that, and then he followed me on Instagram, Twitter, and retweeted a couple things of mine, and then what really solidified it was, we kept talking on email back and forth, honestly, almost daily. And then come summer, his right-hand man hit me up and said, hey, we want to fly you up to New York. You're going to be our intern, and we're putting on the Steve Nash Celebrity Soccer Tournament, and we want you to help run it. And so that was pretty cool, and that basically solidified everything. So I got to meet a lot of cool people from that. My biggest claim to fame from that trip, which was hilarious because I just turned 21, was I drank cocktails with Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki, and as a white basketball player, who's your idol growing up? As a point guard, Steve Nash. And so that was a pretty funny moment.
Yeah.
But it was cool, and just goes to show you never know what can happen, and if you think of an opportunity instead of wait for one, you might have something cool happen.
Yeah, and the power of one conversation, one email.
Isn't that wild?
Oh, it is wild. I mean, I legit have goosebumps right now thinking about it.
It's pretty crazy. So.
Yeah, you just gotta take a shot.
100%.
Yeah.
Shoot it, man.
Oh man, I love that. And so, did your experience with, was it Cyberdust?
Mm-hmm. Called Dust now.
Dust?
Yeah.
Did that kind of transition to your next like entrepreneurial venture that you had?
Yeah, so I'd say the mindset of creating something that became pretty simple after that, and that summer was huge for me because a lot of cool things happened just from trying. I also won NBA Finals tickets from a Twitter contest, and it was as simple as this: you create a caption, and I stayed up from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next morning messaging people, hey, can you go like my comment? And then that was just effort, and I was like down 742 likes when the contest began. I said, screw it, I'm gonna make this happen. I want to go to see the finals because I couldn't afford to go see it.
Yeah.
And so I stayed up all night and messaged random people, and they did. And I was by the end of the night, I think I had 1,400 likes or something like that, and it was too far for the other guy to catch up with. The contest ended at noon the next day, and so I got contacted. It was like, hey, you won NBA's. It was the Western Conference Final, so it was the last season Harden was on the Thunder, and I got to see a legendary game, and me and my brother got flown out there, and so that was cool. And then the Cuban thing happened, and then it was kind of just like, look, if I put effort into something like and don't relent, like it'll probably work out to some degree. So that was a really good summer of just learning that. Cyberdust, and then I did that again next summer, and once again that was kind of the mindset, backer of what I was supposed to do. But in the next thing, I kind of in my mind I said, I'm not a finance guy. I probably should find something else because Cuban's a stud, and I love Cuban, and but my buddy who still works for him is a super smart finance guy. So I thought in Cuban's world that was more valuable to him than like a marketing guy like me. And so I said, hey, you're great, this is awesome, but I'm probably gonna move on and find something else. So then that started. I bought all these wholesales. 2014 now. I bought all these wholesale soccer jerseys. Probably bought 150 of them, and that was I took on my mom as my first investor. She gave me like $1,000, and I said, hey, I promise you're gonna make money. And she was like, she didn't think it was gonna happen at all. And $1,000 was kind of a big deal to her, so as it is to anybody. And so I said, I promise you it's gonna make you money. And so, I got these soccer jerseys wholesale and sold all 150 of them for the World Cup. And so that was my next lesson of like, okay, I took on an investor and I helped pay her back plus money she made, and then I made money. So then I was hooked. And so then when I went back to college that year, App is famous for a thing called beeping, and it's like Uber, but it was not organized at all. You'd post your number to a Facebook and you'd drive people around. So I did that, and you charge, I would charge $2 a head. I had a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I would put all the seats down and kind of put cushions around, and I'd fit 13 people.
Oh, in a college town? I've been down to App too. I know about it.
I'd fit 13 people in my Jeep, and
take them to a trailer bar.
100%, man. And I'd make $26 a trip, and there's certain nights I made $400, $500, and so that was also hooked. I was like, all right, I'm working late hours, but I'm working from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. and I'm helping pay for college, I'm helping pay for the fraternity, and that was, so after those two things and just trying and having, successful stories from the previous two, that really got me hooked, which eventually led to the suit company.
I mean, it sounds like you were just a grinder. I mean, you were just...
just a hustler, man.
Just hustling out there, just trying to make it...
Only one way to live.
Get 13 people in your car, and then you're like, wait, I got some soccer jerseys too.
No, seriously. That actually happened. I don't need to go into that, but that happened.
Sure. And so what was some of like the biggest lessons that you learned during those college years while you were still a student running multiple businesses and just trying to get ahead? Like what lessons did you learn?
So it was all cash businesses, and it was hilarious. Like I didn't spend any marketing or anything except for posting on Facebook, and I think it taught me that word of mouth is everything. That soccer jerseys took off, and like two buddies of mine posted they got soccer jerseys from me, so that was huge. Two, going the extra mile is worth it. Like every single thing that I did was slightly more effort than what was probably either expected or was standard or normal, and I had that much better of an experience. So I think that's kind of like a compound effect. Sometimes people justify, like if I made, say for example, if you lost 2 pounds in a month from eating right, 2 pounds in the next month from eating right, or 3 pounds the next month, 4 pounds. Logically, people might think that the following month you might lose 5, but maybe your body, catches certain metabolism or metabolic rate, and you lose 8. The following people. I think a lot of people think chronologically, and I don't think life's chronological. Stuff tends to work out 10x when you keep doing the right thing instead of 1x more.
Yeah.
So I think that was a huge lesson for me, and what convinced me not to take a job out of college. I never applied to any jobs. Technically, I think I still have a class or 2 left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I walked in May, which was in December, which is hilarious because I didn't know I was going to graduate until the day before. So my parents actually couldn't even come to my graduation, which is classic me, to be honest. I hit them up. I said, "Hey, I think I'm graduating tomorrow," and they said, "Well, we can't come because it's 3 hours away."
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. But yeah, just compound effect, going the extra mile. In my opinion, I don't understand, for me personally, if you live in 2019 or 2020, why you would not have a side hustle if you were frustrated with your money situation. Like, I think it's the easiest time in the world to be an entrepreneur or to start, whether it's a consulting business, clothing business, pretty much anything. Like, I have buddies that do Amazon stores, like you're doing this podcast, right? So it's like, I think anytime, I think it's the greatest time in the world to start something. And so, I'd say those are kind of the biggest lessons learned.
Especially out in Charlotte too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in Charlotte and as the city's growing, you can really get ground level on anything you would want, unless you're trying to go into a ground level bank or something. But you can really establish yourself out here in this growing period.
Yeah, no,
for sure.
It's huge, and I just think anything you can create, you can if you just put the effort in.
Yeah. And so after college, you then started the suit business?
So the suit business started, I took a design class, and that just really got me into creativity. It was the elements of design, and Apple's a really good product design school. So then I took a couple more classes. That was kind of my senior year, and so I ended up taking about 3 or 4 design classes my senior year, and then I took 2 entrepreneurship classes. And so the previous classes, so to speak, were me selling the jerseys and driving the kids around at night, because that taught me more than anything I probably ever learned. It's like, okay, well, this is marketing, this is how you take cash, this is how you put it back in the business or whatever. So the classes, I think, slightly solidified what I'd learned. And then we were in a supply chain class, and this kid came up to me and said, "Hey, there's a program where we go to China every year. We learn about supply chain, we learn about this, and then there's the local tailor we partner with, who basically makes suits for like $80 to $90 that are custom, and they get done in a day."
Whoa.
And so I was like, great, and so let's look into this. And so basically what we did was we told the tailor, said, "Hey, teach us how to measure, give us fabrics, and we're going to measure kids back in the States and ship these suits out, and we'll give you a cut, and we'll make our money, but we'll start this out." And so this is before really Indochino or Combat Gent or some of the cheaper models, I'd say, took off. And so that was the beginning, and we were called Corner Tailors, which was a hilarious name to me. Me and my buddy Ryan did not like the name, but we stuck with it because our buddy Merrick, who still a great dude, still keep in touch with him occasionally, but he was like, "Yeah, like the local corner, like the tailor down the street." We're like, "Yeah, I guess that makes sense." So that was our name for the first year and a half, and then we changed it to Lewis and Harris, and it was like $300 custom suits, which is an unheard of.
Yeah.
I was the sales guy, I was the hustler, and Ryan was operations. Merrick was CEO, and eventually Merrick had to leave because he got married and got a cool job, and then it was me and Ryan for a little bit. And I mean, for the first 4 years, man, or 3.5 years, I made nothing. like absolutely nothing. And so basically it came to a situation with me and Ryan. I said, hey, like, you know, you're the man, but I need to make this my own and to provide for myself, or I need to, you know, quit this. And so that's when kind of Stitched by Mitch started, and I also started pivoting more to, I don't want to sell to college kids and young professionals anymore. I want to sell to guys that kill it.
Yeah.
And so I had started that process, I'd say 2 years previous, of trying to get more into the corporate world. And then, you know, just a couple hilariously bad sales where I had no idea what I was doing, or, you know, with executives or anything like that, taught me a lot, kind of brought me up a little bit. And yeah, 5 years later, here we are.
Yeah. So what were some things that you learned while you were pivoting through those times? Because like you had the business. Did you always think it was a good idea? And then
I just kind of ran with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I thought to myself, I said, okay, well, I have connections in sports, and you know, if I get good enough at this, you know, whether it's college coaches or other athletes that play professional sports, they like to dress nice, you know, and I love to dress nice. I was always a fan of fashion, so that was huge for me. 2, I thought it was a relational. And 3, every time I thought about quitting, I thought to myself, well, if I go to a recruiting job or any other job, you know, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to start back at square one. And if I just kill it this year, I'll make more than I will ever make at one of those places. So I just kept, every year, even though I didn't make anything, like my first 3 years, I kept telling myself, like, well, do I want to start over, or do I want to keep doing this? It was kind of it was pretty ignorant, to be honest. It was pretty stubborn. I had friends, you know, send me job applications. My parents were encouraging me to get back into real estate, because that's what they do. And so, you know, I was sleeping on couches and I was just grinding, man. Yeah, I'd say the pivot was just, I didn't want to sell to college students anymore because they didn't have the budget to purchase nice things. And, you know, when you follow brands like Tom Ford or Versace or Gucci and, you know, some other ones, it's a sexy brand. And I wanted to be part of something that people wanted instead of trying to force people to want to buy from me. So it was more of a branding and kind of a legacy thing. And then inadvertently, you know, you'd make more money from that too, which is also not bad.
Yeah. When did you kind of take on the design and everything? Like, you're not still with that tailor that you were in the other in China with?
Oh no. Yeah, we left them a while ago.
Yes.
So all my stuff now, I mean, you can get it made in China. That's kind of the cheapest stuff, but it's still amazing quality. When I say cheap, it's not bad. It's bespoke tailors that create amazing garments. It's just the cost of labor is a lot less than it is in the USA. And then I have a factory I work with in Los Angeles, which is probably my favorite. You know, it's nice to be able to say made in the USA. That's where most of my urban stuff's created, or anything crazy. And so that's kind of where stuff is now. And then I have another factory in Italy. And then all my fabrics usually are made in Italy or England. So, yeah, and it was, we don't use them anymore, but yeah, the pivot, once again, was just, I think I want to create a legacy, and let's create something from that.
Yeah. So it's Stitched by Mitch now.
Yeah.
What kind of services do you provide?
Yeah. So Stitched by Mitch is like the tagline, and it's funny. Like a lot of people I work with either call me Stitch or Stitched.
Yeah.
No, a lot of people don't call me Mitch anymore, which is it's just funny because I never intended that to happen, but. You know, I've rolled with it. So basically, my process, I think it's unique to Charlotte. I have certain elements within the fitting process or the post-fitting process, whether it's, you know, surprises that you get. It's really an understanding of who I'm working with. And so anytime that, you know, I meet with someone, you know, I interview them, certain questions to figure out stuff that's important to them, you know, how they associate with color, what dates are important to them, do they like the elements of surprise, either in their garment or something that I send them after, maybe it's a cufflink. Yeah. So I think it's more of a process than just a purchase, more of an experience than just a buy. And so through that, you know, basically I create anything people want. It's not, hey, here's my options, choose. It's, hey, what do you want? Let's create.
Yeah.
So it's more of a creative element, and I definitely enjoy that part. I had a really cool opportunity last year to make a suit for Josh Gordon, who hopefully gets reinstated by the Patriots soon. And he basically gave me full creative control. He has a logo, he's called Flash, and his logo is a lightning bolt. And so I said, this would be really cool. But he also was like, I don't really like suits. And so I said, this would be really cool if we could create a suit with your logo. He said, do your thing. If I like it, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
And so his manager connected me to him, and flew up to Cleveland. He was on the Browns at the time. Measured him up. That's a whole other story, which is pretty funny. But then he got traded to the Patriots, and we kind of lost touch with him. But I got a random text one day. I was like, hey, do you still have that suit? I want to see what you created. And I was like, who is this? He's like, hey, it's JG. It's Josh. I was like, okay, yeah, I still got it. What's up? And I kind of thought it was a lost cause at this point. And he said, well, fly up to Foxborough, and if I like it, I'll buy it. So I was just like, good Lord, that's an expensive suit, expensive trip, whatever. So I did it, brought my buddy. He filmed kind of a little documentary series on it. But yeah, the main thing is, let's create something you're excited about, and let's have fun with it, and we'll add little kind of elements of your story within what you're wearing.
Yeah.
And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I looked through some of I saw the inside of the jacket had the Panthers Coliseum or Panther Stadium.
Yeah, yep.
And that some of the just touches that you put into it.
It details matter.
Yeah.
The quotes, the devil's in the details, and people get excited about that stuff. It's different.
I can do stuff too.
And I think the biggest thing is the power of your subconscious mind. When you know that, say for example, if you went to Chapel Hill and there's a light blue thread somewhere that's visible to either your peripheral vision, you're going to intrinsically like that a little bit more because of that color, because you had a good experience at that school. And so I think that stuff, I get excited about that kind of stuff. The games the mind can play.
Yeah.
It's just fun to talk about.
Did you take a little bit of psychology courses in college?
Yeah, so I took psychology of color, was kind of a section of one of my design classes in shape, and what people can interpret from that, and how they associate it with either memories or emotions. And so that stuff is kind of the geek outside of everything, but I enjoy that a lot.
It's like to look good, you got to feel good, and then you got also the mental aspect playing its role as well.
It is powerful. A lot of people don't think about it, which is what I'm here for. So I can help think about it with you, and then open your mind up to kind of I would say a new level of design and fashion and clothing. So
yeah, that's awesome. And are there any other things that kind of make each piece unique too? Do you put your own touch?
Yeah, so I put stamps on it. I'd say there's not a standard thing that I do on every suit. Mm-hmm. Not even my logo. I sometimes put my logo in, sometimes don't. I think if it looks good on the inside from an aesthetic standpoint, I will. But whether it's stitching, so like this suit right here has double stitching in the lapel that I'm wearing, which is just different. It's a olive, kind of like seafoam green, which I love because it goes with pretty much any color. I think I'm wearing navy and black right now. But it's a stretchy fabric. It's 98% cotton, 2% elastane. So I geek out about that stuff too. It's super flexible. It's like something I can honestly wear to a summer concert and destroy it and it'd be fine. Mm-hmm. So it's it's a fabric you can really beat up. I think I'm working on a couple of things right now that are, I think in my opinion, going to elevate the brand, but every suit, every shirt, every shoe is slightly different, and I do all that, so I don't just do suits, but I'm excited to launch that hopefully later this year.
Ever since I started working at Lulu, it's like I read the tags, I see the percentages on there, and I started looking at seams too, because they kind of don't have a traditional. That was the first time I've ever seen, like, if you look at the ABC pants, they got a gusset at the bottom that just like helps you when you squat down, and they got gussets in the armpits for things just to give you more range of motion. And so I really had no idea with those stuff. I was just buying shirts or getting Nike, getting whatever just given to me from sports and everything like that. And so it's nice kind of feeling the fabrics. Now I go around the store and just kind of feel every fabric.
Yeah.
Like, what is this one? And
Yeah, it's fun.
figure it all out.
And each color is kind of feels slightly different. So
Yeah. Oh, and seeing that too, it's like, why does this color feel different? Because they had to add a different percentage of polyester, cotton, whatever it may be, just to get that color.
Yep.
It's always interesting.
No, it's fun
to me. Do you have a favorite piece that you've created so far?
I'd say it was that, and then I'm working on something with Christian McCaffrey this year for the London game, which I'm really excited about.
The London game, you said?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Panthers playing London this year, so that's gonna be really fun. I made a couple of really fun pieces. Recently, I made a tuxedo for a Lake Como wedding, which was really fun. I basically he was getting off the boat, or the wedding was ending, and they were going on a gondola boat, is kind of off into the lake, is like their when people go through the sparklers, that's what they did instead. They went on a gondola boat.
Like send off.
Yeah, their send off. Thank you. And I created like kind of a wavy pattern on the lapel, which it's subtle, but it's just different. So that was a fun detail. And then George Kittle, 49ers tight end, I'm creating him, finishing it, actually about to ship it out to him. Basically a suit that was inspired off of a vintage car. So it's ruby red and it's got racing stripes on it. It's just different.
Yeah.
You know, so those are a couple pieces, but I'd say as of this point, the favorite, penultimate favorite, because I haven't created Christian's yet and George hasn't gotten his yet, would be Josh Gordon's the flash stripe. That was just, it's crazy. You know, it's a sick suit and it's different, and people freaked out about it because I literally created the fabric. So
how'd you incorporate the flash into it?
Basically, I took the lightning bolt and created a pinstripe, but because the lightning bolt was jagged, it kind of had this like wavy effect the entire way down the suit and down the seams. And so at first it was like, all right, how's this gonna look? But then when he put it on, it looked so sick. And it was, you know, deep black and white, and the symbol just turned out really fluid. And yeah, that was just, it was awesome.
I love that. And so what do you think the future is for Stitched by Mitch? What do you got? What do you got in your back pocket, if you can tell us?
Yeah. So I think the future in retail is experience. How are you creating experiences and memories? People are going to dress their best at events they want to remember, because photographs are going to be taken at those events. So when you look back at your life, most likely the events you're going to be taking pictures at are weddings, banquets, galas, you know, obviously with friends when you hang out, but you probably want to be dressed best for those pictures, because that's how you're going to be remembered. That's your legacy. And so I'm trying to create more events and experiences that give people a reason to dress up and understand the psychology of fashion and color and art. And so I'd say the next thing is experiences, and I can't share too much on that.
I like where you're headed.
But I am trying to change the experience game in fashion, and there's a lot of fun stuff I'm working on over that. So
shoot, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm all about experience, and so
it's gonna be fun, man.
You'll have to keep me posted for sure.
For sure.
So let's go a little bit towards like your lifestyle. Like, so if you knew Mitch, you would know what?
I think if you know me, I probably don't sleep as much as I should. I'm very ADD in the sense of I get excited about certain things. So a lot of my mentors challenge me to like stay on the path. You know, I love sports. You know, I love adrenaline rushes. So I'll jump off a cliff, you know, into a ravine or into water or whatever. I always like doing things that are a little bit different, a little bit crazy. But I think most people would just know that I love people, I love laughing, and then if there's a good song that comes on, it doesn't matter where I am, I'm probably gonna dance. And so that's probably what I'd say I'm mostly known for. And then I just like goofing off. You know, I love to laugh and probably goof off too much, but lifestyle-wise, I'd say I love dancing. I love trying new things. I love traveling, and I think the main thing is that just a lot of random things happen to me. You know, in a good way, like, you know, the finals tickets, the Cuban internship. I won't talk too much about this, but I went to Fire Festival, which was just a joke and hilarious. And so it's stuff like that happens a lot. And so I think people are curious at why I always get in funny situations, and I don't know why I do, but I do. And so
you think it's just your like spontaneity?
Probably.
I've had the same thing. Like I want to cruise off Instagram.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And it was very similar to your story. Honestly, it was like I spent like 3 hours just like looking for who was giving it away, how many comments, how many things they had, and then I just dove in and then won it the next day.
That's hilarious.
Little things like that.
You know, if you just hustle, man, stuff works out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But if you don't try, you're never gonna get nothing. So.
Nope.
Yeah. What is one habit or routine that you have that you would recommend to someone else to get more out of their day, their week, their life, anything like that?
I would say most people are too conservative and they don't try random things. So I had just a good story. I can't remember what podcast it was from, but this dad had 3 kids and he encouraged each one of them to fail as much as they could every day. And so I think that's really good. Whether it's, you know, failing while you're trying to accomplish a fitness thing, like run a 5-minute mile. It's like, well, that's really hard. You know, maybe you run a 5:40 mile and then you get better and you get better. So I think failing every day, trying something new every day is a great way to look at stuff. And I think a lot of times people are too afraid to fail, and that's the biggest, you know, pusher of success is how you fail.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that.
Fail forward.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Fail forward.
That's one of my favorite lines right there. So I always kind of like finish up with this question because I feel like I can take a page out of anyone's book and kind of learn something from them.
Yeah.
So if you had to take a page out of your personal book and give it to the world, what would that page say?
You never know what can happen if you just try. And when you think that stuff is not going to work out, and it feels like it's not going to work out, if you just try a little bit harder, it probably will. I think there's always a breaking point, and the breaking point is not it doesn't necessarily have to be you breaking. It could be the boundary you're trying to get past. And so I think that's a very powerful illustration. The classic one that, you know, I constantly get reminded of is the person that's, you know, there's 2 people digging, and one person, you know, stops and another person keeps going, and the person who stopped from digging was, you know, 1 foot away from reaching, you know, a massive diamond or a massive pot of gold. And I think that's such a true story in life, and I think that's the real breaking point. It's not yourself, it's the barrier you're trying to get past.
Yeah.
So push yourself past the breaking point. When it feels like stuff's about to fail, that means you're close.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I live my life, and you know, I think with what I've done, and thankfully the people that I've worked with, I'm still not done yet, but you know, I should have quit technically like 10 times before I even got to this point. So I think that just kind of goes to show, just keep trying.
Yeah, it's like you're either gonna break or you're gonna break through.
Yep.
And so a lot of people stop before they break through.
Yep.
Just because of like they're in their own head, they hear something, people are talking, failures, everything we just talked about, when they could have just one more step, boom, you would have broken through.
Absolutely. So I think just keep going. You never know what can happen.
Yeah, keep on trucking. So where can people find you in the community out here in Charlotte?
So I am, hilariously enough, I go to Angeline's Immersion in Trade almost every day. Not necessarily to drink or eat, but just I love the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I love, you know, I'll go to Angeline's and just read a newspaper or a book and sip a cup of coffee. And I'm very big on ambience and color and texture and being in an environment that either promotes creativity or just puts me in a good mood. So that's one of them. It's like kind of an amber orange color in there, and I just love that. And they treat me nice. And then I love rooftops. You know, not just the drink, but just the views, the wind, and you know. So I'm there a ton. I work out at Charlotte Athletic Club a lot. Spend a lot of time at Charlotte City Club. I think that's a great club and to get involved with. And then other than that, I'm honestly not here a ton, but I love going out. I love having fun, and whether it's Panthers games, NASCAR races, if it's a sporting event, I'll probably be there too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Amen.
And then we'll have to get a workout in.
Yeah,
for sure. And then where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so my Instagram is StitchedByMitch, and that's stitched with an ED, so STITCHED by Mitch. And then my LinkedIn, which I'm very active on, is just Mitch Purgason, and that's PURGASON. And so I kind of give a lot of behind the scenes stuff on LinkedIn versus Instagram. It's more of like, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look how cool I am, so to speak, in a hilarious way. But LinkedIn's more behind the scenes, so I kind of give an element of both sides of my business on LinkedIn and Instagram.
And if people wanted to reach out for clothing, things like that, where should they?
StitchedByMitch.com. That, my Instagram, Facebook, I get inquired to about almost weekly in a different medium. So really,
just any platform.
Yeah, any platform.
Just reach out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll find it. Yeah, love that. And do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
No, I just think just like Roman's doing this podcast, he's starting something. So you got to start from somewhere, and I love it. Why not?
Yeah.
Always ask yourself why not, and then later on you'll thank yourself for thinking that way, and keep trying. So just try something different and don't give up until you break through.
I love it. Mitch, thank you again.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Amen.